We say this a lot, but documents obtained by Judicial Watch may confirm collusion between Mueller and Comey. In the emails, FBI officials advised former Director James Comey to consult with special counsel Mueller before Comey testified to Congress. What? Well, that substantiates news reports that Comey met with Mueller prior to his testimony before the Senate Intel Committee in June of last year. Joining us now with more on this is Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch. We're also joined by Whitewater Deputy Independent Counsel Saul Weisenberg, along with Harmeet Dillon, the RNC committeewoman from California, a practicing attorney, civil rights attorney as well. Great to see all of you. Tom, boy, it's tough to get documents out of this Justice Department. And you guys had to file how many suits to get this nugget about Comey and Mueller?
2 federal lawsuits, Freedom of Information Act lawsuits. We began asking for the documents in August of last year, and we just got 15 or so pages in the last week or so. And they show, as you say, James Comey was fired by the president, and within a day or so, he's communicating with the FBI about upcoming testimony because all of Congress wanted him to testify. And you see the emails, "Dear Jim, hi Jim, can we coordinate? What information do you need me to have in terms of institutional prerogatives?"
Can we? We have a couple of the full screens of the emails up there, and yeah, Director, in response to your email below, we've consulted with executive management here, including the General Counsel, and recommend the following: that your counsel, there's mistakes, there's typos in here, but consult with the special counsel Mueller to determine the timing of any such testimony. So the timing should be worked out with Mueller too.
That's right.
Is there any benign explanation for this?
Well, typically there would be some coordination. But what Comey said was beyond the pale in terms of what government officials are typically allowed to say in such situations. Certainly, if you're an FBI director and you're having meetings with the President of the United States, typically the agencies tell you you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to talk about documents you created at the FBI about those conversations. Comey had full free reign during his testimony, and it was blessed both by the FBI, it looks like, and by Mr. Mueller.
Saul, this is curious, but there are also, as they refer to in this email, there are, I guess they say, institutional privileges or prerogatives that may be presented by any such testimony. So the FBI, a special counsel's office, messaging Comey about, we just want to basically coordinate about the concerns, I guess, I don't know, the institutional privileges, things that Comey wouldn't have to reveal, presumably, on Capitol Hill. Do you see any problems with this, the appearance of coordination?
I don't see any problem for Mueller. To me, this isn't really new news. I think Comey at the time announced that he was going to consult with Mueller. It's very clear that Comey has had a man crush on Mueller for quite some time and wants to wrap himself in Mueller's glory. But I haven't actually read these latest emails that Tom got. But I don't think there's anything wrong with Comey going to Mueller and saying, I'm going to testify. Do you have any problem with what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it? And do we know that Mueller blessed anything, or is that just somebody's surmise? So, again, nothing surprises me about Jim Comey. I don't think it should be used to smear Mueller.
Here's another big story, and Harmeet, I want to get into this. So Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy went up to the Justice Department today, and they were allowed to review certain classified documents. And they said this afterward: "We had a productive discussion today with officials at the Office of Director of National Intelligence, Department of Justice, FBI, and we raised questions related to the information requested from the intel community. The officials committed to holding further discussions of these matters. We look forward to continuing dialogue." Blah, blah, blah. This follows Nunes, again, threatening contempt of Congress against Jeff Sessions. Seems like you have to threaten contempt of Congress to get anywhere. And, and what is this? Where's this going?
No, I mean, this is a spectacle that does very bad for the reputation of the Department of Justice and the FBI here, where it takes threats, repeated threats. It's like, it's like those movies where the villains are chasing the train and they're throwing stuff off the back to try to delay them. It's like that. But eventually they're going to have to, pay the piper and come forward with this information. They're doing it very slowly. There's clearly something they have to hide, because if they didn't have something to hide, what's really ironic here is that the Department of Justice is not in the Constitution. It's an inferior branch of government that was created by Congress. And so for them to arrogantly say that they're somehow above the Congress and they don't have to answer requests like the rest of the government is truly outrageous. So the president wants them to cooperate, clearly. Now, they put out the story at the DOJ that the White House is on board with what they're doing, but then the White House put out a statement saying, no, actually, we want you to cooperate, just don't give stuff that's extra top secret. What we've seen from their redactions in the past that have been grudgingly unveiled is that they were nothing burgers. They were simply there to protect the DOJ from embarrassment.
Yeah, well, they were exculpatory.
Exactly.
They were exculpatory, not for the DOJ.
Right, for Flynn
yeah.
and you know, for other people. So they're protecting very hard to hide something.
But there's always a tug of war between Congress and the executive branch. That has always existed.
Not to
going
this
back
degree,
to,
though.
But this does take it to a new level. And Kim Strassel has an interesting analysis. I want you all to weigh in on this. Tonight in the Wall Street Journal, she writes, it's about the FBI source. She says, we know Mr. Nunes's request deals with a top secret intel source of the FBI and CIA who is a U.S. citizen and who was involved in the Russia collusion probe. We might take this to mean that the FBI secretly had a person on the payroll who used his or her non-FBI credentials to interact in some capacity with the Trump campaign. Strassel seems to be she has incredible sources, I know that, and she seems to be indicating that there could have been someone inside the Trump campaign from the FBI who is embedded in there, I guess, spying on the Trump campaign. Now, we'll see if any of this pans out, but Tom.
Well, we had confirmation this last week from the House Intelligence Committee that there was a counterintelligence operation against Flynn while he was on the campaign or working for the transition.
Yeah, and how does that play out? You know, just wiretaps or just what?
Yeah, what was it? What did the program entail? Look, this Justice Department takes the approach of the modified limited hangout in terms of information releases. For 4 months, the Mueller operation sat on the fact that they had the Lisa Page struck messages. And on top of that, then we found out about the Clinton DNC dossier. There's going to be a fourth or third or fifth shoe to drop.
Other shoes will drop.
And this, I don't believe that there's classified information at issue here. There's embarrassing information at issue here.
Saul. The Strassel point,
well,
we'll see what comes of this, but it's interesting. If, Saul, I know you love ifs as a white-collar litigator. You love my hypotheticals. Let's go back to law school. If the FBI embedded someone inside the Trump campaign, and they believe it for a legitimate purpose, if Russia was really trying to throw the election, if they had information indicating that, they put someone inside the Trump campaign, burrowed away, working in one of those little cubicles with his ear out or her ear out. What's the problem there, if there's a problem there?
Oh, there's a big problem unless you have the same kind of problem you have when you search a lawyer's office. You better have something really, really good to be able to justify that. And here's the problem. There's an old saying, and before I go any further, let's give credit to John Ehrlichman, the author of Modified Limited Hangout. I wouldn't want to leave him twisting slowly in the wind, Laura.
Oh, but, excellent.
Keep in mind, there's an old saying, the wages of crying wolf. And Harmeet put her finger on it. We've now seen too many instances where the Department of Justice and or the FBI has said, we have to redact this because it could endanger national security and it's classified. And we have seen now, time after time, where it's been unredacted and it's just been embarrassing. And the latest example, and when you do that 2 or 3 times, people are going to stop believing you. You lose all credibility. And we saw that last weekend when they finally unredacted 2 passages in the House Intelligence Committee Majority Report, the Select Committee Report. And they revealed 2 incredible things. One, that the FBI didn't think Mike Flynn had lied. We had heard about that.
Huge
but secondly,
revelation.
Shockingly, that people haven't focused on enough, that the underlying crime Mike Flynn was being investigated for was the Logan Act, an act that's been a dead letter for over 200 years.
Right.
It's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, that John Kerry never violates. So, yeah, of course. Yeah, so we got 2 pieces of it.
It's really shocking. It's really shocking that Sally Yates would approve and greenlight an investigation of anybody for violating the Logan Act.
Now,
No one
Sally
has
Yates,
ever
come on,
been
let's talk
prosecuted.
turkey here. I mean, we're way over here, but Sally Yates, I mean, that little hissy fit of a resignation letter. Oh, come on. She marches herself or the agents over to interview Flynn. That whole thing smells like a big fat setup to me. Yates marching. Why do you have any business going to interview Mike Flynn? Mike Flynn didn't even have a lawyer with him. He's like, sure, I'll talk to you. He didn't think he had any. Of course, they didn't give notice. Mike Flynn should have never talked to them, but he didn't think anything of it, Saul. He was like, well, you know, whatever. You guys were way over. I want to do an hour with you. I need to have a 5-hour show. I love my guests. Thank you, guys.